what I want right there. All right. So I'm gonna back up one. Kent, this is Kent Gibson. He's at the coast right now. There you go. It's all you.
Okay, so this year I went on a little bit of an excursion, and it was actually because of my daughter who's going to school at Purdue. A couple Christmases ago, she left me a little card that says, "I owe you one trip to the Field Museum." So once she told me that, I decided that I started planning this trip to go to a few museums. Well, there seems to be a lot of museums, but I also like to hunt for minerals and gemstones and that kind of stuff. So first night I ended up in Montana, drove from Newport, Oregon to somewhere in Montana at a little campground that was closed, but I stayed there anyway. And I woke up in the morning, first thing I saw, I opened up the canopy of my truck, got out, and there's a bear about 100 feet from me, kind of messing around. But then, so later in the day, I ended up going to just near Helena, Montana, to the Spokane Bar Sapphire Mine and mine these little sapphires there for the first part of the day. So after that, you can go to the next one. After that, I got to the Museum of the Rockies. It was my first museum I visited, and it was a pretty cool place. There's lots of neat stuff there. And this is Ashley Hall. She's a paleontologist there. That's actually one of my Facebook friends, and we chat off and on. But I got to meet her and look through some of the exhibits. And I'm sharing about somewhere between 3 and 5 photos from every place I went to. So hopefully this will go fairly quick, but I mean, man, I saw some awesome stuff. So I thought this one was kind of cool because the way they had it showing there, that showed all the little points on it there. Excuse me for not knowing the dinosaurs, but I'm pretty good at finding fossils, but I'm not so good at knowing what they are. So, especially in the dinosaur realm. But there are some really cool displays there at the Museum of the Rockies.
This one's called Do Not Touch Touchasaurus.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like a hadrosaur, or I don't know what it is. I don't think that's it. But so the second one I went to, second museum, was the Glendive Museum, Dinosaur Museum, and Fossil Museum. But this one this is one that I almost wish I wouldn't have gone to, because this is a creationist museum. So that was pretty interesting. And I had to bite my tongue because apparently all these things are no older than 6,000 years. But they had some cool displays in there. And then I guess the next one I went to was this Pioneer Trails Museum, and it was in Bowman, North Dakota. It was this kind of a smaller museum, but they had all these museums had some pretty cool stuff in them. I just went around. I got some of these museums, I got like 30 pictures or 40 pictures, and a couple of them even got 70 or 80 pictures. And I just didn't know how to pare them down for this little thing, but the nice little turtle. I kind of like turtles. So I took some of them. There's an Oreodont. When I went out to let's see, last year I was at the place, John Day Fossil Beds, and I actually found a little Oreodont jaw out there that kind of matched what this one looks like, and ended up turning it over to Nick Famoso out there. And this one is the entrance to the Mammoth site in Hot Springs, North Dakota. This was a really cool place. It's a all-enclosed dig site. They were going to build some homes at this place, and then they got the bulldozer in there to start pushing around, and lo and behold, they hit a mammoth bone. So the guy ended up, instead of building homes on there, ended up donating or selling it to somebody, or I don't know who took it over, but they did a fantastic job of not building houses, because this is a really cool sight. You can see all the bones in these different layers and tusks and everything. And I can't remember how many they said they had so far, but it seemed to me like it was like 60 some mammoth and uh, at least parts from at least 60 different mammoths or something like that there. I don't remember the exact number, but it was quite a few. And that's the little thing they lay on, so when they excavate, they don't smash anything. They can lay on that thing and then use their arms and kind of chip away at stuff. Okay, so this one's after that I went to down the road and all of a sudden I saw a sign that said Badlands National Park. So I went ahead and turned in there and saw some really horrible looking scenery, but man, I'll tell you, it was really cool. I mean, it was hot. It was probably about 95 degrees that day. I wanted to get out and do a little more exploring, but I didn't, I think I got out of the truck for about an hour once and walked around, and that was about all I could do for that day. It was so hot. There's just some of the scenes where they found all sorts of dinosaurs and different things in this park. So next, this is I believe this is the Field Museum in Chicago. This is the one my daughter actually drove me up to this one, but that's the outside yeah, it's the outside of the museum. And there, of course, is a famous Sioux.
Are those the real bones, Kent, or is that a cast?
Yeah, I think this one's the real bones, I believe.
Most.
Most, yeah. And you had to take a picture of the hell pig. Everybody's got to have a hell pig.
And Deladon.
That one was a big, long dinosaur. I can't remember the name of this one either.
Is that an apatosaur or one of the others? Turtle.
Yeah, there's another turtle.
That looks like it came from Kemmer.
Okay, so after I left that area, I went to Wichita, Kansas to visit my other daughter. And of course, I looked around for museums there and found the Museum of World Treasures. And that place is for Wichita, that was a pretty good stuff. They had a lot of different types of stuff in there.
So did they colorize this with light? They
had light shining on them with different colors. You can see one actually down there shining down there on the floor on that little black square thing. Yep.
Oh.
There was another turtle.
It's an interesting way to display it with the colors like that, kind of art-like.
Yeah, I mean, this was a museum. They had all sorts of stuff. They had U.S. history type stuff in this museum. It was pretty good, actually.
Like not at the museum.
Yeah. Okay, so this one's at the Sternberg Museum, and I met a guy named David Levering, who's he does the summer camps for students there, and he actually emailed me about 2 weeks before I went on my trip and wanted to know if he could stop by my place and look at fossils if he brought some middle schoolers out there. And of course I said, sure. So I went and saw him first before he came to visit me. I got to chat with him for about an hour there or so, and he kind of showed me around the museum.
They have a lot of really great youth programs there for the summer. I managed to come across stuff when I was there too. The other thing, in case you didn't, we're going to mention, well, I'll wait till you're done with this and then I'll go ahead. Maybe you're going to say it. Go ahead and talk about the museum.
Yeah, they had, what I didn't show is they had a traveling display there with about 30 different types of rattlesnakes, which was really interesting. I didn't know there was that many different types, but in another part of it, they had they had all these just live um, different snakes that you just wouldn't want to run across most times, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one of the neat things they do is they put the fossils next to like taxidermy, so you see the old version compared to new versions. Um, but one of the things that's interesting, in case you didn't notice, Kent, I'll share it with you and everyone else. If you've ever seen the movie that was produced by, I think it's National Geographic, it's called Sea Monsters, and it kind of follows the life of Dolly, which is a Doloranchus, like a plesiosaur type critter. And they take the fossils and then interpret it into a story. The fossils that they got the story from are all at this museum. And so when you see the fossils in the video, they took them from pictures of this place. So you go and you can see the original fossils from that movie in this on display on the walls in this place. So that's where they get the story from, is everything from this museum. Pretty cool. Did you know that, Ken?
No, I didn't know that.
Watch the movie, you'll see your old friends. Continue. You're doing awesome.
Okay, so this was one that was, I put it on my list. It was University of Nebraska Memorial Hall Museum, and I didn't know what to expect here, but this turned out to be one of the better museums of the trip. It's probably in the top 5. And then also I took this picture because I thought there might be more people interested in this, just seeing this. And then they had some different, they had Nautilus, and go ahead and hit the next one too, the evolution of that, and also ammonoids.
That's cool. That's a neat way to display it. I like that. Is that from the same place?
Yep.
That's a glyptodont. Quite the thrill.
Yeah, it looks like it's Triceratops, but it had the cross across the top of it, which I don't know that I'd really seen before.
Much smaller horn as well. Cool.
Okay, now this one's at Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and where actually Kirk Johnson was working when I first met him. So what I really liked about this one, they had a really cool prep lab that you could, walk by and watch them do stuff in it.
I think that's Kimmer. That's Kimmer. Yeah, they have quite the mineral display there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they have quite a gold collection there for sure.
Okay, this one was this was University of Colorado Boulder, and I think out of all the ones on my trip, I probably could have done without this one. So if you ever think about going that and you have a choice to go to a different museum, I probably would on that one.
They're like eggs. Blown out something.
Okay, now this one's at the Morrison Dinosaur Center, which is it wasn't a real big museum, but they kind of like did a guided tour through what they did have, which was kind of neat. You got to interact with the gal that or I did with the gal that was knows a lot about it, and so she was giving me and probably about 5 other people a tour of the place and describing stuff for us. Okay, so moving on, we went after that. It was this is in Woodland Park, Colorado. This is the Rocky Mountain Research Center, and these guys make replicas for all sorts of different museums. If you need a part or whatever, call these guys up, they'll make it for you. It sounded to me like so. It was really cool. They had some really neat display items there too. And I just, I should have probably just put 8 or 10 pictures from this place because they had really cool displays.
Fish.
Yeah, I'm kind of partial to fish. You see more fish pictures in here probably than what you want. Okay, so moving on to the fluorescent fossil beds. This Nick Famoso, who from the John Day fossil beds, was doing a 3-month fill in here for a guy that retired. So he was there. He was there his last week when I was visiting there, and so I got to talk to him a little bit about what he had learned so far from this area. And this is a picture basically of what it probably looked like in that area a long time ago.
So the fellow that retired, is that Herb Meyer? Is he the one who retired?
That sounds familiar. I couldn't tell you.
He was the
100%
director
sure.
there. Herb Meyer is from Oregon originally and was friends with Steve Manchester, who works with Dr. Smith, or studies with Dr. Smith, whatever, over at Florida. But Herb Meyer went through all the OMSI camps and the Clarno nut bed stuff, and he's from here, and he got he went through the whole paleontology thing, became a doctor, and he's been in charge of Florissant for quite a few years. So he's the director out there. So if he retired and Nick kind of took over, then yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he must have retired about 4 months ago then, or something like that, because Nick was the interim, basically. But they had these fossilized tree stumps out there all over the place that were really cool.
Did you get a tour of this part of it?
Yeah, I walked around. They have walking paths, and this whole trip, it was like in the 90s every day. So they had, like the 1/4 mile walk, and they had the 1.5 mile walk. Well, I didn't do the 1.5 mile walk that day. It was hot for a coast boy, a little too warm for me.
So here's a fun fact for you, since you might not have heard. One of these stumps was acquired by Walt Disney and was moved to the Disneyland Resort, whatever amusement park, and is somewhere in like Frontierland or something like that. It's part of Disneyland. And he he came over here to see this stuff, and then somehow got permission, bought it or something, and hauled one of these huge stumps.
And it's supposedly at Disneyland.
Yeah, I think they also tried to get one of these things to a World's Fair, and they didn't make it. It didn't sound like.
All right.
Okay, so now this is the Dinosaur Museum in Blanding, Utah, and this place specialized more in birds, I think, than anything. But they had a lot of different stuff, but there was they had a lot of bird stuff in there, basically. Well, yeah, I don't know if I'd want to meet that guy with scales or feathers. I don't know.
Oh, that one hasn't been in a movie.
Yeah, they had all sorts of movie posters up there, all sorts of different stuff. It was kind of an interesting museum. And it had some really good displays though, but like I said, mostly it was like bird type stuff, but there was other things in there also.
Wow.
Okay, this is a little place. I was going through Moab, Utah, and I saw this little thing that says something about dinosaur tracks. And I said, well, what the heck? I'll pull in there. And this turned out to be a little walk around, mostly outside. They had some inside stuff, but you walked around and they had all these life-size dinosaurs made out into this desert there. And it was pretty cool. It looked like what you might have seen, 65 million years ago or whatever.
awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, that was a big one. There was a couple of those guys, and those were huge. You walked underneath them. Okay, so now this is at the Cleveland Lloyd Quarry, and this is in near Cleveland, Utah. So the little story about this is, as I'm driving up there, it's 98 degrees, and this road is like a gravel road for miles after you get off the pavement. And it's about 3 miles from this place, and I looked down on my dashboard, my little light came on for getting a flat tire. So I'm thinking, oh man, I wonder if there's any shade trees at the place. So I kept on driving, and I got to the parking lot. It was all gravel, still 98 degrees. Ended up learning how to change the tire in my new truck. And that was about all I wanted to do for that day. But I did walk around a little bit. They have a little enclosed building it's a little quarry that they're still working on, but there really wasn't a whole lot of stuff here, but I think they need a bigger building and do more stuff, because this is the kind of stuff they're working on here, trying to expose this stuff.
Cool.
Stop me if I'm going too fast.
No, that's fine. And so after that, I had to go get my tires changed. So I went to Price, Utah, which was probably the nearest town that actually had a Les Schwab in it. And so Les Schwab actually couldn't change my tire, so they sent me about a block away to another place. And they said, well, it's going to take about an hour or so because we don't have the part, and the part guy's bringing it. I think they needed some glue or whatever. So I told him, the guy, what I was doing. He says, well, there's a museum just a couple blocks over there, and this wasn't even on my list either, but turned out to be one of the better museums there that I found in Price.
See you guys.
So this one is run by Eastern Utah State University.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, it was pretty cool. They had some good displays in there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it when I went through there.
Yeah, if I wouldn't have got a flat tire, I would have went right on by this one probably.
Okay, Fieldhouse.
Yeah, Fieldhouse. This is in Vernal, Utah. This is also another they had some really good displays in this one also. Like I said, I could have posted like 15 pictures of this place, but I didn't. And these are all just plates of different things on there. They made a whole kind of wall out of it, which is really cool.
That'd make a cool bedroom wall.
Yeah, it would. Or a shower wall.
Yeah. Or a fossil room, or any room, maybe a living room with
Yeah.
a fireplace in the middle of that. That'd be pretty cool.
Give you ideas. Okay, now we're on to the Dinosaur National Monument near Jensen, Utah. This is another place where they had a great big building over this area, and probably some of you probably been here, but there's just a whole long wall with fossils all through it. That's the outside of the building.
It's big.
Yeah. That's what that Cleveland Lloyd needed. Okay, so then we go on past there and head up to Kemmer, to the Fossil Butte National Park or National Monument, I guess it is. And these guys had some really neat stuff in there too. This is worth going. It's kind of a small place, but they had a lot of cool displays in there.
Yeah, I love that wall. It's so awesome. I like the mosaic thing.
Have you been to this one?
Yeah, a couple of
Yeah.
times. I got to
Yeah.
take Bill Sullivan, who had never been there, and I'd already been there, and just watching somebody who's totally into fossils see this in real life for the first time. It's as fun
Oh,
as
it's
seeing it
amazing.
yourself the first time. Yeah, that's the best monument I've ever seen is Fossil Butte,
Yeah.
and it gets better every time you go. So crazy. I don't think that display was there. It was one smaller wall last time.
Yeah, I like this plate here of all the fish, man. There's 100 fish on there at least.
That's great prep work. Into this one.
Okay, then on to the Idaho Museum of Natural History.
Are you
This
getting
is
tired by this point?
This trip lasted about just a little over 3 weeks.
Oh,
These are bats. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of bats in there. I thought that I hadn't seen a display of bats, so I took a picture of that. I thought maybe people might be interested in that.
Ah, hey, look,
And
Brian.
there's the famous whorl tooth shark fossil.
Cool.
And a little petrified wood. They had some nice wood displays in there also. They had a bunch of Ray Troll stuff in there also. Now we move on to the Wyoming Dinosaur Center. Now this place, if you haven't been there, this is a good place to go. This is in Thermopolis, Wyoming. And I took a picture of this tree. I'd never seen one like the tree like this, but I thought that was pretty cool.
It is. Jerry got to prep a fossil rib there.
Ah,
A Diplodocus.
yeah, this was one of my top favorite museums I went to too. From the displays were all really high quality.
Wow. Cool. Ichthyosaur or something. Ichthyosaur.
Yeah, this was kind of a neat display. It had his mom looking over his little nest of babies. Yeah, this was, I think the last, or no, not the last one. This was Montana Dinosaur Center in Bynum, Montana. And this is just a warehouse. It wasn't real big, but they had fossils stuffed in there. They do more field trips, I think, than anything.
Whoa.
But they had they take people out and do collecting field trips and stuff.
Wonder how heavy that is. That's gotta be.
It looked really heavy.
That's amazing. That's pretty impressive. Cool.
They claim the world's largest dinosaur. This is all
Yes.
I think manufactured, but it went from, well, you can see the tip of the tail in the front. It circles all the way around and
Oh,
comes around to the
Right here,
front.
and it goes out
Yeah,
here and then around.
I tried to figure out a way to get most of it in a picture, and I just couldn't because I just couldn't back up far enough to get it in.
That's cool.
The last museum stop was at the Burke Museum in Seattle. Of course, probably most of you guys have been there, so you've probably seen some of these.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, had to take a picture of the whale.
Good old whale.
Yeah, just another old dead whale.
You probably have enough pieces that you could put something like that together, couldn't you? It'd be all different, different animals, but
sizes.
you got enough to build it.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's our prep lab. I like it where you have these prep labs. There's only a handful of museums where I was actually able to see a prep lab, and there's only about 3 of them that people were actually working in when I saw them.
Wow.
Okay, so this is my last stop was Westport Aquarium, and I just stopped in there because I know the guy that owns the place, so that was my last stop, and I knew he had this big old whale and some other couple other things in there I wanted to check out. Besides wanting to BS with him a little bit, but they had a really weird looking animal in there too.
Wait, is that a model or are those?
Those
That's
are real
aquarium.
fish. That's
Those
an
are real.
aquarium. Yeah, yeah,
I say it's kind of a weird display, but it's aquarium. It makes sense.
yeah. But then that last one there, he said this one was from I think somewhere in the South Pacific. So I can't even remember what he called this thing, but apparently they're still alive.
It's like, it looks like a Eurypterid almost.
Yeah,
Flipper lobster.
There you go.
is that what it is? Yeah,
Yeah.
That was an oddball. And I think that's
That's the last
about
one,
it.
Kent.
All right. So
Outstanding.
yeah, it was 9,028.6 miles door to door.
So 10,000 miles. How many pictures did you take? Do you have
Oh.
any idea?
500 maybe.
I bet it was more than that. And which one
I don't
of
know.
the 28 locations, which one's your favorite?
Jesus. I don't know. I
What-
I was circling some of the ones on my list here that I kind of really liked, and out of the 27 or so, 14 of them really stood out to me. So
14.
it's hard to pick a real good favorite, but the Museum of the Rockies was good, and that University of Nebraska was kind of a surprise. That was actually pretty good.
Museum of the Rockies might be the best one if you like dinosaurs, because
Yeah,
they've got the
yeah.
whole life setup, morphology, whatever, of all the T-Rex skulls, and they're all originals.
Yeah.
Triceratops series, and you got the T-Rex series, and they got all original bones on stuff. They have their one big T-Rex, they have a cast skull, but the real skull is below it on the ground because it's so heavy they couldn't create armature for it. But yeah, that's my favorite, all the ones he went to that I've been to. So but that
Yeah.
it's not
The
about me. So
The Wyoming Dinosaur Center there in Thermopolis, that was pretty cool. It was probably one of the top for the best looking specimens, and the way it was kind of laid out. It wasn't super big, but it was really cool. Oh man,
great.
So
If
anyway,
you were going to
that's-
recommend a one-way trip to one of them that might not be your favorite, but what do you think if somebody were to take a trip? Is there one that you just can't miss? You think Thermopolis maybe, or museum? of the
if you're
Rockies?
going through Wyoming, I would say that would be the one to stop at, just because it is. I mean, they got a lot of cool stuff in there. Geez, I look at my list and I'm going, holy crap! The Field Museum, that was pretty cool too. So was the Denver Museum. So
Denver's pretty awesome. The Denver has a lot of the mineral stuff and all
Yeah,
that
they have-
too. So it's the Denver Museum's kind of like a mini version of the Smithsonian.
yeah, it really is. But I noticed, the one thing I noticed about that, some of their displays are a little bit dated, but I mean, it was still really good. It was big. So
Okay, and last question: how do they compare to the Smithsonian? You think that's still your favorite?
yes, I think it is. I mean, this since they have the new dinosaur hall at the Smithsonian, it's probably I mean, it's spectacular basically. So
But any